The Battle of the Labyrinth. The summer sun beat down relentlessly on Camp Half-Blood. As Percy Jackson stood at the edge of the woods, Riptide clutched tightly in his hand. At 15, he had already faced more monsters and gods than most demigods saw in a lifetime. But something about this summer felt different. Dangerous. A rustling in the underbrush caught his attention, and Percy tensed, ready for action. But instead of a monster, out stumbled Juniper, a pretty wood nymph with green-tinted skin and leaves in her hair. "Percy," she gasped, her eyes wide with fear. "You have to come quickly. It's Grover. He's in trouble." Without hesitation, Percy sprinted after Juniper into the depths of the forest. As they ran, she explained that Grover had been searching for Pan, the lost god of the wild, when he stumbled upon something terrifying in the woods. They found Grover in a small clearing, his goat legs trembling as he stared at a fissure in the ground. The crack seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, and a chill ran down Percy's spine as he realized what it was: an entrance to the labyrinth. "It just appeared," Grover bleated nervously. "1 minute I was searching for Pan's trail, and the next—" Percy's mind raced. The labyrinth, the ancient maze created by Daedalus, was a place of legend and nightmares. If an entrance had opened at camp, it could mean only one thing. Luke and his army of monsters now had a direct route to attack them. As they made their way back to the big house to report their discovery, Percy couldn't shake the feeling that this summer would bring challenges unlike any he had faced before. Chiron called an emergency council meeting, and soon the heads of all the cabins were gathered around the ping-pong table that served as their war council. Annabeth, her gray eyes stormy with concern, laid out a map of the known entrances to the labyrinth. "If Luke finds Ariadne's string," she explained, her voice tense, "he'll be able to navigate the labyrinth at will. He could bring his entire army right to our doorstep." The gravity of the situation settled over the room like a heavy blanket. They needed a quest, and fast. To everyone's surprise, Clarice spoke up. "I've been working on this," she said gruffly. "I found an entrance in Phoenix. My friend Chris Rodriguez came out of it. He's in a bad way." Percy remembered Chris, a former camper who had joined Luke's army. The fact that the labyrinth had driven him to madness was a chilling reminder of the dangers they faced. In the end, it was decided that Annabeth would lead the quests. As a daughter of Athena, she had the best chance of unraveling the labyrinth's secrets. Percy, of course, volunteered immediately to join her. Grover and Tyson rounded out their team of 4. As they prepared for their journey, Percy couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and dread. The labyrinth was unlike any challenge they had faced before. A living, shifting maze that defied the laws of time and space. Their first stop was to consult the oracle, hidden away in the attic of the big house. As Annabeth climbed the stairs alone, Percy paced nervously below. When she returned, her face was pale, and she recited the prophecy in a shaky voice. "You shall delve in the darkness of the endless maze. The dead, the traitor, and the lost one raise. You shall rise or fall by the Ghost King's hand. The child of Athena's final stand. Destroy with a hero's final breath, and lose a love to worse than death." The words hung heavy in the air, each line seeming to promise danger and heartbreak. But they had no choice. The fate of camp and possibly the entire world rested on their success. As they stood at the entrance to the labyrinth, ready to descend into its depths, Percy caught Annabeth's eye. A wordless understanding passed between them. Whatever horrors awaited them in the maze, they would face them together. With a deep breath, they stepped into the darkness. The entrance ceiling shut behind them. The battle of the labyrinth had begun. The first thing that struck Percy was the absolute darkness. It pressed in on them from all sides, so thick it seemed almost tangible. Annabeth's flashlight barely penetrated the gloom, casting eerie shadows that danced and shifted as if alive. As they moved deeper into the maze, Percy became acutely aware of how the labyrinth defied logic. One moment they were in a narrow stone corridor, the next in a vast cavern with a ceiling so high it was lost in darkness. Time seemed to lose all meaning, and Percy couldn't tell if they had been walking for hours or days. Their first major challenge came in the form of Janus, the god of doorways and choices. The two-faced deity presented them with a series of seemingly impossible decisions, each choice potentially leading to disaster. It was Annabeth's quick thinking and Percy's unwavering trust in her that saw them through. But the encounter left them shaken. As they continued their journey, they encountered a bewildering array of dangers. In one chamber, they faced off against a horde of flesh-eating sheep, their innocent appearance belying their deadly nature. In another, they narrowly escaped being crushed by giant gears. In a room that seemed to be part of some massive, ancient machine. But it wasn't all danger. They also found moments of beauty and wonder in the labyrinth. One passage led them to a cavern filled with luminescent fungi, their soft glow creating a magical, otherworldly atmosphere. Another brought them to an underground river that Percy could sense flowed all the way to the sea. Throughout their journey, Percy couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in his companions. Grover's search for Pan had taken on a desperate edge, his normally cheerful demeanor replaced by a driven determination. Tyson, always loyal, seemed to grow more confident with each challenge they faced, and Annabeth. Percy found himself watching her more and more, admiring her intelligence and bravery in a way he never had before. Their path eventually led them to Hephaestus, the god of fire and forges. The crippled deity, his beard smoldering and eyes glowing like hot coals, offered them crucial information in exchange for a favor: investigate one of his forges that had gone mysteriously silent. This detour brought them face to face with Chronos' forces for the first time in the maze. In the abandoned forge on Mount St. Helens, they discovered Tauchines, dog-faced sea demons, working on forging new weapons for the Titan Lord's army. The ensuing battle was chaos. Percy, drawing on his powers as the son of Poseidon, created a massive eruption that destroyed the forge and sent the Tauchines scattering. But the effort nearly killed him, and in a moment of desperation, Annabeth kissed him before pushing him into a fissure that carried him to safety. Percy washed up on the mysterious island of Ogygia, home to Calypso, a daughter of Atlas cursed to fall in love with heroes she can never keep. For a brief time, Percy was tempted to stay, to forget the dangers and responsibilities that awaited him. But his loyalty to his friends and his duty to camp eventually won out. and he made the painful decision to leave. Returning to camp, Percy found it in a state of high alert. His absence had been longer than he realized. 2 weeks had passed in the mortal world while he was on Ogygia. The defenses around the labyrinth entrance had been strengthened. But everyone knew it was only a matter of time before Luke's army attacked. Reuniting with his friends brought a mix of relief and tension. Annabeth's reaction to his return was particularly complex. A swirl of emotions playing across her face that Percy couldn't quite decipher. But there was no time to dwell on personal matters. They had to return to the labyrinth and complete their quests. Their journey through the maze became even more perilous. They encountered the Sphinx, its riddles, now reduced to a mind-numbing standardized test that offended Annabeth's intellectual sensibilities. They navigated the ranch of Geryon, where they met Nico de Angelo, the son of Hades, whose grief and anger over his sister's death had led him down a dark path. But it was their encounter with Daedalus himself that changed everything. The ancient inventor, now inhabiting an automaton body, revealed the terrible truth he had already given Ariadne's string to Luke. The attack on camp was imminent. Racing against time, Percy and his friends fought their way back through the labyrinth. Along the way, they discovered the resting place of Pan, fulfilling Grover's lifelong quests, but at a bittersweet cost. The old god was fading, passing on his spirit and responsibilities to Grover in his final moments. They emerged from the labyrinth just as Luke's army began its assault on Camp Half-Blood. The battle that followed was fierce and desperate. Demigods fought side by side with nature, spirits and Chiron against a horde of monsters. Percy found himself at the heart of the conflict, Riptide, a blur of celestial bronze as he cut down enemy after enemy. In the midst of the chaos, Percy came face to face with the newly reborn Kronos, now inhabiting Luke's body. The Titan Lord's power was terrifying, his very presence seeming to slow time around him. It was only through sheer determination and the timely arrival of Daedalus and his automatons that they managed to turn the tide. As the dust settled on the battlefield, the true cost of their victory became clear. Many had fallen, and the camp's idyllic atmosphere was shattered. But they had survived, and in doing so, had dealt a significant blow to Kronos' forces. In the aftermath, Percy found a quiet moment with Annabeth by the canoe lake.